Welcome back to Mustang Arena. We are just about 3.5 minutes into the ball game. If you're just joining us, 13-2 is the score for these Blue Darters. As we get back to live action, and as Neil and I were mentioning a moment ago, this is a very dramatically different team. No returning players from last season's state final appearance.
Fourth in a row, and no returning coaches either.
Yes, no returning coaches, no returning players. So an entirely different basketball program this year than we saw last year as they try to live up to the legacy that Wekiva girls basketball has established. And now we're going to get a foul.
A 13-2 lead for Apopka in the crosstown rivalry. So at the line,
Michaela Anderson hits 1 of 2 for the Mustangs, and that'll put the difference down to 10 points, 13-3. The Darters lead with 4 minutes to go here in the first quarter. Again, this is Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs and sports information director here at Wekiva, joined by Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief.
so Apopka scoring the first 10 points.
Hold is called against number 12, Paris Blackwood, her first, the team's second. At the line, Michaela Bell.
Talia Moore scoring the first 4 points, a couple of field goals, transition opportunity. Then Michaela Bell scoring 6 in a row. Of course, as you just heard Mark say, she is now at the line, and that's how they got the 10-0 lead. Now 14-3 as Bell connects on that first free throw. Thank you for joining us on this Monday night as there's another turnover, the 5th by Wekiva, and dumping in the deuce is Mark.
Number 12, Messiah Mark, scores 2 for the Darters.
So, of course, Apopka with some turnovers. We'll get more into that as this game progresses. And that's Johnson, can't lay in the deuce, but doing Windex work and floating in the deuce is Moss, 18-3.
Michaela Moss adds 2 for the Darters.
So Apopka keeps turning the ball over.
3 for Janiah Johnson. I think you mean Wekiva keeps turning the ball over.
Yes, Wekiva keeps turning the ball over, and Apopka keeps scoring off those turnovers. As you just heard Mark say, 21-3 now as Coach Middleton calls the timeout.
Full timeout called by the Mustangs. Back with more from Mustang Arena in just a moment.
And welcome back to Mustang Arena, where the hometown Wekiva team is still feeling their oats, so to speak, with a new era, new coach, and new players. And they trail the crosstown rival Apopka Blue Darters 21-3. It's been all Apopka, as the score indicates. 7 turnovers facilitating that 21-3 lead. And as we mentioned before the break, the turnovers just continue at the other end. Making the withdrawal and scoring the deuce is Moore.
Janiah Johnson scores 2 for Apopka.
Johnson. And now Wekiva will catch a break. Apopka committing the foul. It's second team.
Foul is called against Janiah Johnson, her first, team second. Mustangs ball at their own baseline.
So I'm Neil Fisher. Thank you for joining us on this Monday night. Again, if you're new to Apopka tuning in and you don't have any reference.
Held ball. Possession. Darters.
Of course, Apopka about 22 miles northwest of downtown Orlando. The city itself, there's two high schools. Apopka, far older, over almost 100 years of history. One of the original, maybe not, well.
Inbounding violation. Mustangs ball.
Apopka, one of the first teams to join the Metro Conference. That's all the schools that are located in Orange County and are public high schools. They were the third or fourth team to join. Wekiva, now was 16 years, but still compared to Apopka, not even anywhere close. And that'll be a basket for Mark.
Talia Moore for two.
So Wekiva really still feeling their oats, as we mentioned, while Apopka continuing with the same old story, aspirations of getting into the playoffs and taking that next step.
So actually, Neil, they are
into the playoffs.
Apopka is the third school to join the Metro.
1931. And I hate to say it, but so far, with 2 minutes remaining in this first quarter, this really looks like 16 years ago when Wekiva first opened, going against the big brother, so to speak.
Well, it essentially is. I mean, you've got about the same combined age of the players. You've got the same combined history of the coaching staff and players. I mean, it almost is like opening a new school.
Back the other way we come. Johnson leading the attack, and she'll draw the foul. 1:42 remaining. So Apopka on the northwest side, about a mile from Lake County, if you're heading northwest.
Foul called against Mustangs number 1, Jasmine Pooler. Her first, the team's third. At the line shooting for the Darters, number 1, Janiyah Johnson. It's worth noting that Apopka doesn't have a particularly long roster either.
And so Wekiva on the southeast side, right next to 429. They're about a mile from Maitland, heading southeast. So certainly a crosstown rival, not just both schools in the same city, but heading in different directions on the northeast and the northwest and southeast side. So a 26-3 score now, as that was Pooler bringing the ball up, and it's slapped away by Johnson, who stopped pops, no drop. But doing Windex work is Moore. She'll reset the offense back out to Moore. The sweet pass and score the deuce. Going bank.
Moore on the
Bell.
pass to Michaela Bell. Mustangs trying to get out of the backcourt, and a lofty pass. Wekiva kind of gets away with that one.
Down low, of course, Blue Darters coming off of a victory at the Metro versus Florida Challenge. Mark and I were there for its entirety. A great event this year. The spin by Johnson, can't get the ball to drop. Tipped around a couple of times and scooping up the loose ball and bringing it back the other way. Pooler just quickly, though, ball turned over. So Wekiva catching a couple breaks there on the last couple of possessions. Apopka getting sloppy with the ball. Unable to get the ball up past half court, though. 30 seconds remaining, first quarter. And I believe that's the 10th turnover now for Wekiva. So we were talking about the Metro versus Florida Challenge. One last time, Mark said it for 4 days straight. The Metro Conference is Scott Williams' baby. It's his brainchild, the coach of the Apopka Blue Darters, as that ball does not drop, but doing Windex work and making the withdrawal from the bank.
Put back
Bell.
by Michaela Bell.
So each team in Orange County Public High School is a member of the Metro Conference. And in each of those 28 games, they took on a member who is a non-member as time runs out. And at the end of the 28 games, we totaled up each side. This year, unfortunately, the Metro Conference unable to pull out the overall victory, losing 15-3 to the Florida contingency.
That takes us to the end of the first period. Back with more from Mustang Arena after a quick break. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. We are at the start of the second quarter, and Wekiva struggling to get their legs under them as we have 5 freshmen and 2 seniors that are working on finding their rhythm.
Taking on Apopka, the crosstown rival, and has not been much of a game, to be quite honest. But again, as Mark said or alluded to, certainly that's to be pretty much as we expected with Wekiva. Completely new roster and completely new coaching staff. Jerry Middleton taking over this season. Another turnover. I believe that's the 12th for Wekiva. And 30-3 the score. Apopka scoring the first 10 points. And certainly you can see the difference in these two teams. As Bell goes for the deuce. And so mention Brittany Hardy, the coach of Apopka. Again, if you tuned in late, about 5 miles separating the two schools. Apopka on the northwest side of town and Wekiva on the southeast side as Apopka makes a rare turnover. Brittany Hardy, the coach and alumni. She graduated in 2008 that season as the point guard. Directed Apopka to the State Final Four, where they lost to Miami Norland, who became the eventual state champion. Also want to mention, though, she's a protege of Miriam Jenkins, the longtime coach, who had quite a bit of success at Apopka. Brittany Hardy succeeding her, not directly, but succeeding her after she got her degree and moved back to Apopka. And, of course, Coach Jenkins, who has since retired, is here in attendance. As we get a foul.
Foul's called against Darters number 32. Miracle Mann, her first, the team's third. That was on the floor. It'll be Mustangs ball at the opposing baseline.
7 minutes remaining before halftime. And Wekiva drains the
three for Jasmine Pooler. And just like that, they double their score.
So Apopka last year going 20-7.
And now a rare Darters turnover. Wekiva takes advantage, trying to make something happen in transition. Go into the key. No, Mustangs think better of it. Pooler sets up the play for Wekiva. Swings over to the right. And short on the tray. Another chance, though, as Wekiva pulls down the offensive board. Still not there. And this time it'll go to the Darters.
Apopka 20-7 last year. Earned a berth into the FHSAA playoffs, the class 7 and 8. Defeated Haggerty in the first round, but then fell in the second round, or if you prefer, the regional semifinals, or even the Sweet 16, as they continue to pour the points on. Number 25.
Janelle Francis on the basket.
So a 34-6 score as we drop under 2 minutes, second quarter.
Trey lifted up and away off the heel. And the iron unkind bounces it straight to Miracle Mann. We're going the other way. Moss, point guard, setting up the play. Swing over to Jones. Doesn't like what she sees there either. We'll go to the other corner. And finally the cut inside. There goes Jones. Can't fish it away, and Wekiva has to step out of bounds to scramble for the rebound, and it's going to end up being a fracas on the ground. And it's going to be a held ball. Possession, Darters. And now the quick inbound.
Two
Easy
opportunities.
Up. Yeah, two missed opportunities. Mann, though, using her superior height to fish down that rebound. Then the tray not going to fall for Moss.
And a pair of zeros battling it out.
Held ball, possession, Mustangs.
So as you heard Mark just say, it'll be Wekiva possession. They trail 34-6. Still looking for their first win of the season under Coach Middleton. Of course, Coach Middleton also looking for his first win as a head coach. And also want to point out, too, as we get the steal by Moss, and she's going to motor in and, nope, not make the withdrawal. But gets her own rebound, and then the foul. That was Jones crashing the boards on the attack. She'll go to the line. Jones, 23. So also, although it was not in season when Coach Butts decided to move up to Central Florida Christian Academy and Coach Middleton took over, it was about 6 weeks into the school year and about a month before the start of the season. So that's also hampered Wekiva as well, Mark. So Jones gets 1 of 2, ups the lead to 34-6. Of course, nowadays, all these high school coaches, they start planning for the next season as soon as the previous season ends. And Coach Middleton did not have that opportunity, taking over about a month before the season started. So,
and a turnover in the paint.
And score the deuce, the bank.
Basket by number 1, Johnson.
Last foul on White. So Wekiva looking to cut into the lead. They trail 37-6. It's been a long night so far for Wekiva, taking on their crosstown rival Apopka. And Coach Middleton calls the timeout.
Full timeout called by the Mustangs. Back with more from Mustang Arena right after this break.
.4:16 remaining before halftime from Mustang Arena, and a domination from Apopka as Wekiva, a new era under Coach Jerry Middleton, not only entirely new coaching staff, but entirely new roster. 37-6 score. Apopka with that lead. They scored the first 10 points, and they have not looked back since then. Your leading scorer, Jemiah Johnson, with 11 points. And Michaela Bell with 10. They've done the bulk of the scoring, but it's been a team effort as Apopka has forced over 10 turnovers.
Taylor Lane had a good look there, but it was blocked out of bounds by the Darters. Wekiva will retain possession at the opposing baseline with just over half of the second quarter gone. Now the tray launched, and it's pushed out of bounds by Asia Jones, so Wekiva will continue with possession.
The sophomore shooting guard. So there's the no interception. Ball remains loose, but it is going to go over to Apopka. Jump
held ball, possession, Darters.
So of course, with a new roster, when you're a new player, you have to get used to the intensity, not only in terms of the emotion and just the feel of a game, but also the pace of the game. And certainly that's something that Wekiva is still looking, only their fifth game if you include the preseason under Coach Middleton and all these players.
Basket by Lauren Jones.
And I think part of the issue tonight, of course, mentioned it, Wekiva around 15 turnovers now, make that 16. I think they're just still acclimating to that intensity, going up a couple of notches.
Chanel Francis on the pass from Asia Jones.
Any thoughts on that, Mark?
Well, I mean, it was just a classic play design. You steal the ball at half court, you get it down there in transition, make the bounce pass to optimize your shot percentage.
But again, that's another play in the series where it just looks like Wekiva's still adjusting to that level of intensity increasing.
Inbounding violation, Darter's ball. And yeah, you see a lot of, I mean, Wekiva is playing like a team full of freshmen because they are a team full of freshmen. This is early season. Most of these players have no experience outside of middle school, much less JV. And so you're seeing things like inbounding violations. You're seeing things like, missing, clear interception opportunities by Apopka. Push is called against number 1, Jasmine Pooler, her second, the team's 5th. Darter's ball at the sideline. So for what it's worth, we have hit the 35-point threshold at which a running clock would apply if it were the second half. The running clock will never apply in the first half regardless of the scoring differential, as we get a 3 release there by Jones. I should say Lauren Jones. I have to clarify, there's 2 of them. And the putback by Johnson, not going to fall either, but she fishes her own rebound. And now a tough pass, and Wekiva catches a break. We've seen Apopka do, and Jones takes it right back.
Just 2:15, and the sweep underneath, the spin, and score the deuce for Jones.
Asia Jones adds 2 for Apopka.
Asia Jones. So not only are there 2 Jones on the Apopka roster, but one's 21, that's Lauren, and 23 is Asia, as we get a whistle.
Foul called against Darter's number 25, Janelle Francis. Her first personal foul, the team's 4th. That'll send Zariah Garden to the line, shooting 2 for the Mustangs. And good work by Garden there drawing the contact. That was a shot that was never going to go in regardless. But she manages to draw the contact, gets an opportunity to put in 2 free throws, and she hits the first.
Of course, while we got this stoppage.
Hits the second as well.
Coming up tomorrow. Same place, same time. It'll be the Edgewater Eagles taking on Wekiva, and then they close out the week against Ridge Community on Wednesday. Splash for Johnson.
Janiah Johnson for 3. Traveling. Darter's ball.
So 1:39 before halftime. So, of course, on the other side, the boys, they're off to an excellent start this season. 3-0 so far, actually 4-0. Including the preseason games. Of course, they won their game against Seminole last Wednesday at the Metro versus Florida Challenge. Talked a little bit about that earlier. Played out the road at Apopka High School.
And a nice pick there by Paris Blackwood. Read the pass well. Now we go the other way. Wekiva again struggles with the ball handling at midcourt. That's been a problem for them the whole game. And we got a short jumper from Mann. That's not there. And Apopka fighting their own player for the rebound between Francis and Mann there. No, excuse me, that's Francis and Asia Jones.
So 1 minute, second quarter. Wekiva looking to get into double digits. They've trailed this whole game. Apopka scoring the first 10 points. The move inside, too much heat. That was Blacksmith. And so maybe that's a start, even though most likely they're not going to win this game as there's now 40 seconds remaining.
Asia Jones picks up her 5th point.
But certainly that last possession well executed, and really the first time we've seen that tonight.
Foul called against number 32, Miracle Man, her second, the team's 5th. Once again, Zariah Garden at the line.
So Garden at the line with 2 points. Last 30 seconds of the first half, and what has been a domination by Apopka taking on a completely new Wekiva team. You can really just say a franchise. I know in high school you don't really use that term, but it does apply here. Not only is every player new, but every coach is new as well. Jerry Middleton taking over, 16.6 seconds remaining. Neil Fisher, Mark Barchi, thank you for spending a part of your Monday night with us. And refs get the ball back into the hands of Lauren Jones, and we'll go back to work. And just that quickly, a shot. Fortunately for Wekiva, no dice. And they'll have the opportunity to get the last shot, maybe build some momentum. No, they won't. The swipe, the other hand, the long pass, catches a break again. Not able to get that ball in the first time, but the second time gets the kind roll. Nice shot.
Janelle Francis picks up 2, and that will be the last word of the second quarter.
And so that will put the score at 50-9 at the end of the first half. And unfortunately, Wekiva, as you would expect, as Mark mentioned, even though they're not all freshmen in class, for all intended purposes, the experience, they are freshmen. And it's certainly looking that way, taking on a team in Apopka that's used to going to the playoffs. 50-9, the final score on the Wekiva Mustangs.
Halftime score.
Halftime score at on the Wekiva Mustangs Athletic Network. And back to live action from Mustang Arena on the southeast side of Apopka. Although this will be a short second half. Apopka with the 50-9 lead.
The Mustangs have the opening possession of the third quarter.
In this crosstown rivalry, it's been exactly what you would expect. We mentioned at the beginning of this broadcast, really a completely new franchise for Wekiva, not just a team or coaching staff. Coach Middleton, Jerry Middleton, takes over. This is their third regular season game, 5 in total. And sweeping in and scoring the deuce to get us started.
Mustang basket by number 1, Jasmine Pooler.
On the other hand, Apopka led by Coach Brittany Hardy, now in her 7th season. Always a playoff contender. They come in 20-7 from last season, as well as a regional semifinal appearance. Apopka scoring the first 10 points. And your leading scorers at halftime, Jemiah Johnson. She scored the first 4 points, scoring on the first possession on an easy layup as the turnover occurs. Then stole the ball at midcourt and went back-to-back. Another easy field goal. And then Michaela Bell, taking over, dropping in 6 consecutive points to make up that 10-0 lead. And as they say, as at the other end, Pooler goes back-to-back.
Jasmine Pooler again for the Mustangs.
Apopka never looking back after scoring those first 10 points.
And we'll pause for a timeout. 30-second timeout called by Apopka.
So Coach Hardy, the 2008 alumnus of Apopka, now the head coach, did not like that start to the second half, and she said, let's talk about this.
Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Darters will have the ball coming out of the timeout. We are in a running clock scenario, of course, with the exception of timeouts.
Yes,
as it has been all Apopka for the first half, although all Wekiva for the second half, what little we've had of it so far, and hence why Coach Hardy called the timeout.
Yeah, if you're new to high school basketball in the state of Florida, as that'll be short, but Bell doing Windex work again. It is a 35-point differential, which establishes the running clock. Mentioned before that break as sweeping in and dropping in the deuce.
Basket for the
Johnson.
Darters by Janiah Johnson.
So Johnson now with 16 points. The score of the deuce, Gardner.
Garden and one. Foul is called against number 1, Janiah Johnson. That's her second, the team's first of this half. Garden shooting 1.
And completes the three-point play. So Wekiva actually outscoring Apopka to start this third quarter. Of course, unfortunately, it's going to be too little too late here, trailing at halftime by more than 35 points.
Zariah Garden for 2.
So Apopka alternating wins and losses so far in the season, 2-2. They lost to Edgewater to open. That was a 3-point loss. They then beat Lake Nona convincingly, pretty much like this game, 57-15. Lost to Oak Ridge by 23. And then, of course, at the Metro versus Florida Challenge on Saturday, the second to last game, they won rather handily by Osceola. So Apopka is yet to be, 3 of their 4 games have actually been blowouts, 30-plus wins or losses, 20-plus wins or losses. Their one contest in which it was a one-possession game. They took that from Edgewater. As at the other end, too much heat from Lane.
Putback scored by Michaela Anderson.
And that'll cut the lead to 32. If you're new to high school basketball, again, the 35 points establishes the running clock. That's the differential. Score the deuce.
Second chance basket by number 12, Messiah Moore.
But it does not go back and forth between running clock and a normal clock if a team gets down under 35. So it's a 34-point lead, but because we started the second half with the lead over 35, the running clock will be used throughout the second half. 54-20, 3:31 remaining in the third quarter.
30-second timeout requested by the Mustangs. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Mark Barchi here with Neil Fisher to take you through this early season crosstown rivalry contest between the Mustangs and the Blue Darters.
So 3:15 third quarter. A 34-point lead for Apopka, the obviously more experienced team. As I know we keep mentioning it, but it really is the story of Wekiva so far, as they're still looking for their first victory. Coach Middleton taking over a team, his first season as a head coach, not just at Wekiva, as the foul's committed. Elson Johnson to the line. She gets whack on the drive.
Janiah Johnson fouled on the attempt. She'll go to the line and shoot two for the Blue Darters. The Mustangs foul is called against number 10, Michaela Anderson. That's her second personal foul, the team's first of this half.
But also a completely new roster at Wekiva as well. As the lead now back up to 35. We are in a running clock. We have been in a running clock throughout the second half. And as we mentioned before the break, if you joined us just now, 35-point differential in the score brings out that running clock. And once the running clock is established, it stays in effect. If a team, which we just saw, Wekiva gets under that 35, that does not stop the running clock.
Illegal hands is called against Michaela Moss. Her first personal foul, the team's second of this half.
So 1:15 remaining in the third quarter.
Foul called against Zariah Garden, her first, the team's second.
No dice on the long tray by Jones. And possession will go to Wekiva.
Less than a minute to go now in the third.
So Wekiva possession, they'll be looking to cut into that lead. Garden brings it up and
yeah, you gotta put extra postage on that.
Last 10 seconds of the third quarter. Apopka goes inside.
That takes us to the end of the third period. Back with more from Mustang Arena with the fourth quarter after this. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Fourth quarter, ready to go here. Blue Darters with a 35-point advantage over the Mustangs as we get into the fourth quarter.
Apopka has led from the start, scoring on its first possession, building that lead to 10-0. And this is Pooler. She can't find the range. And bringing that rebound down is Talia Moore. And Apopka at the other end. And score the splash for Moss.
3 for Michaela Moss. 9 points for her so far tonight. And now here's another turnover. Moss with an opportunity, quick pass, and it falls. Michaela Moss to Talia Moore for 2. Full timeout requested by the Mustangs, their final timeout.
We'll be back with the last 7 minutes, 60-20 lead for Apopka from Mustang Arena. 6:58 remaining from Mustang Arena, the crosstown rivalry. And it's been all Apopka tonight. The good news for Wekiva, who's in their first year under Coach Jerry Middleton, as we're going to get some free throws.
No, actually, that was a foul against me. I didn't turn the clock back on.
Okay. So, actually, it's just a out-of-bounds play.
When we enter a running clock situation, I deliberately set down the timing device so that I don't reflexively turn it off and on. And in this case, I didn't turn it on.
So the good news for Wekiva, again, they were down by 35 points at halftime. They actually outscored Apopka 11-10 in that third quarter. And if you remember, if you were with us, they actually had a very strong start to that third quarter, forcing a couple turnovers and turning them into baskets.
Darters foul. Mustang. Darters foul called against number 23, Asia Jones, her first, the team's third. Mustangs ball at their own baseline.
So a turnover forced by Wekiva. And just that quickly, Moss slapped that ball out of bounds, got in the way of the pass.
Darters will send in number 25 here, and they've got an easy basket.
Francis with the deuce.
Janelle Francis for two.
Francis going backboard as we approach 5 minutes in this fourth quarter. And the turnovers continue for Wekiva, although give him credit, number 12 getting back.
Yeah, that was some tough ball handling there from Jones and Francis. Somehow, though, they managed to. Credit to Apopka, though. That was not a great display of ball handling, but they had the presence of mind at the last minute to throw it off of Anderson's leg since they weren't able to save it, so that at least they'd maintain the possession. And those are little things that, even when you're in a situation like this, as Miracle Man scores two, even when you're in a situation like this, where the game's outcome is pretty much decided, those are those mental gymnastics that you just practice.
Right, and coaches harp on them as well. That's why you see him taking timeout, even though this game was, as Mark said, decided fairly early.
A little too much heat on that layup attempt.
Coaches aren't thinking about the game that's being played. They're thinking 4, 5, 6 down the road. And as we go back the other way, score the deuce for Garden, going bank.
Layup for Zariah Garden.
So mental mistakes have a tendency of continuing beyond just one game.
Asia Jones draws the foul on the attempt. She'll go to the line and shoot two. The foul is called against Mustangs number 42, Ashley Tuzet, her first personal foul, the team's third.
And as Mark said, Jones will be at the line. She looking to get her 6th and 7th point. That will not happen.
First is short.
Your leading scorer, almost half of Apopka's points. Jemiah Johnson was 17. And Michaela Bell, the freshman, with 13, so that's 30 of the 64 points. But make no mistake, this has been a total team effort. A number of those points scored off turnovers. Wekiva in double digits before the end of the first quarter on those turnovers, and I'm sure they're over 25 now. Again, please remember that at the high school level, we don't have a team of statisticians. We just don't have the manpower. But eyeball test, certainly, I can tell you watching this game, that's been Wekiva's biggest problem in terms of the stat as we drain the rain.
Three for Zariah Garden.
Turnovers, if you were to choose any stat, would be at the top of the list for this, what's going to be a loss of over 40 points. Well, maybe not 40, but certainly an impressive victory for Apopka from the get-go, scoring the first 10 points and never looking back. And
held ball, possession Mustangs.
And mentioned this in the first half, Mark, of course. This is a completely new team, completely new coaching staff. But you can look at any number of stats. You can look at any number of plays. That's all tangible. But the intangible, it really starts with just the fact that you got to acclimate yourself to playing at the varsity level. And you can just see by Wekiva, it's going to be a few games before they acclimate to that quicker speed, that quicker intensity.
Yeah, the good news for Wekiva is that because they have just 2 seniors and 5 freshmen, those 5 freshmen have 4 full years ahead of them at the varsity level. And, there's nothing quite like trial by fire.
Yeah.
Playing varsity games will prepare you in a way that playing JV games or just being on the practice squad will not. As we get a Mustang basket by Brickayla Anderson.
Yeah, my father was, his favorite quote was, there is no substitute for, there's no more painful teacher than experience, but there's no better teacher than experience. And that's certainly what we're seeing with Wekiva, with this completely new staff, a new team, a new coaching staff. Again, I think of it, even though it doesn't really apply directly at high school athletics, but it's a new franchise.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's not just your players or staff. It's all the way from the top down. So last 30 seconds now as Wekiva will try to get a couple of baskets here and get up to 30 points. Won't do it on that one. Ripping down the rebound. And back out to Garden. She can't connect on the tray. Under 20 seconds now. Scramble. Nice job there. Good hustle by Pooler. So one last opportunity to get some points. And we get a whistle. And that will bring the game to an end as the last several seconds run off. And so certainly the search for the first win begins. Apopka comes in, takes care of business. Your final score, 64-27. Apopka with the victory in the crosstown rivalry. Mark, take us home for tonight.
That takes us to the end of the ball game. We'd like to thank all of our Mustang and Blue Darter fans who came out to Mustang Arena night or joined us on YouTube or the NFHS network. We remind you once again to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. We are at Wekiva Sports on all of those services. The Mustangs are back in action tomorrow night against the Edgewater Eagles. 5:30 and 7 o'clock starts right here at Mustang Arena. We hope that you will join us for that. For those of you here in the arena, please drive carefully and arrive home safely. And for those of you watching the broadcast, once again, we'd like to thank you for tuning in. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe before you go. And if you're watching us on the NFHS network, we would appreciate you signing up for alerts there as well. My thanks to Keith Dickerson and his staff for providing equipment and resources for the video aspects of Wekiva Sports on YouTube and the NFHS network. For Neil Fisher, this is Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs, sports information director and executive producer of Wekiva Sports on YouTube and the NFHS network. This has been a presentation of Wekiva High School Athletics in association with Orange Technical College, both a proud part of Orange County Public Schools. Thanks again for joining us tonight. Good night from Mustang Arena.